know he's the shove it man.
Alright, today it's time for another episode of Was It Any Good? The show where we watch back all the matches, moments and promos for a run with the goal of finding out if it was any good. Today it's one I'm confused about because I remember liking this guy at the time and then it just randomly ended. And what's interesting about today's video is that it's a guy you would never normally associate with the main event. Hell, you wouldn't even really call him a mid-carder. But for a brief moment, this guy we'll be focusing on in today's video was tangling with some of the greats of our time. Just before we start, if you could like, share and comment, I'll quit word with your girl and the next time she sees you she might not vomit. The Brian Kendrick, was it any good? Kendrick had been doing the London and Kendrick tag team with Paul London. Obviously, the clue's in the name, dumbass. That's something that I plan on going into a bit more detail on a future video, but they were pretty good. The year was 2008, and that tag team had ended and Kendrick had now been drafted to Smackdown. He randomly debuts in July. He has a white jacket, rap music and a new hairdo. He also has a very large bodyguard, Ezekiel Jackson. I like that he has a distinguished walk. This kind of thing will make you stand out and be remembered. He doesn't have any promos yet to establish his new character. The comedy team kind of do the establishing instead. He will be a jerk who's compared to Shawn Michaels during the Attitude Era. The crowd are in complete silence for the first match as he struggles to beat Jimmy Wang Yang. So not exactly a good start, but he gets there eventually. Gonna reserve judgment for the first match. It feels so forced right now. I heard Kendrick compared to Shawn Michaels in no less than 3 times during this match. Michaels and Diesel, these two are not. Alright, who's ready for a segment? Because I just love segments. It's time for the Taz Factoid of the Week.
I got a factoid for both you guys. I got a boil on my ass.
Did you know that Kendrick was actually trained by Shawn Michaels? So it wasn't just a completely random comparison. Now put that in your pipe and smoke it. Before the second match, he actually cuts a promo. It's decent, he basically just tells nobody to mess with him, otherwise they'll be messing with the baddest brother Ezekiel. He's now going by The Brian Kendrick, like The Rock or The Undertaker, apart from it's The rather than The. It almost sounds like a joke, except this promo is perfectly competent, it might even be good, and he beats Jeff Hardy's stoner friend a lot quicker than he beat Jimmy. Another promo before the next match, he reveals this has been his personality the whole time. He was just using his tag team with Paul London as a way to get his foot in the door with WWE. He doesn't care about the WWE fans and he never will do. It's fairly quick, but I'm glad he's addressed why his personality has changed so much. It was bothering me. Then he squashes Stevie Richards in 3 minutes. So far he doesn't really have any memorable moves, he just likes to kick a lot. His sliced bread finisher has been renamed to The Kendrick. Very original. Not that much to say, just has a load of squash matches. Zeke gets physical after the match with a torture rack. Was wondering when they were going to show what he was capable of. His next match also starts off with a promo, and it sucks. He sounds confused and keeps pausing. Is he high or something? He also says Ezekiel is his advisor. What the hell is he going to advise you on? I haven't seen him even open his mouth at this point. The commentary spend the whole match laughing at his name. I don't think this is helping. At least he wins again, and he's actually on a big run, but he's not beaten anybody important or had any matches over 4 minutes long. Zeke still hasn't got physically involved during any of his matches, so it seems to be fairly strong booking, but he'll need to beat someone more important than Super Crazy. Oh look, Zeke opens his mouth when he attacks Super Crazy after the match. Perhaps he is capable of talking, and therefore advising. Well, guess what? Before the next match, Zeke actually speaks. He agrees that no one is as good as Kendrick. Great advice. Why all his promos talking about Zeke? I personally like Kendrick so far, but I'm not going to lie, the live crowds aren't reacting to him. I just comment on what I hear and see of my Hawkeye. Is this gimmick supposed to help Kendrick or Ezekiel? It's way too soon to be trying to force a push for Ezekiel. He now gets an unconvincing win over Colt Cabana. So far this is pointless, but I won't mark it down yet because maybe it's leading somewhere. I'm convinced this is just about Jackson though. Then out of nowhere things ramp up. He's put in a battle royal against some of the most random jobbers of all time. But this battle royal has some big ramifications as the winner gets a world title shot. No, it's the fucking Big Show, the ultimate run ender. He's not even a part of this match, but he enters it anyway and eliminates literally everyone on his own, except for one man. He pushes Kendrick out the ring and he's caught by Jackson whilst Big Show continues to go and get rid of the last people. Jackson puts Kendrick back into the ring, and that's how he wins. He did nothing. Whilst he runs around in circles doing a plane impression, I have to admit the crowd are now loudly booing him. Maybe this can work. And just like that, the Brian Kendrick is on pay-per-view for a WWE title shot. But first, his first backstage promo in character. He's doing a gimmick that he's more intelligent than everyone else. He is reading The Art of War. So it's an Abyss gimmick. Actually, this is 2008, so Abyss stole his gimmick. It's a pretty decent, well-spoken promo. I guess we're going for work smarter, not harder. Despite being in the title match, he hasn't really had any involvement with the main eventers. That is until he appears in the ring with Jackson behind the game Triple H. Triple H smashes Kendrick down with one punch before getting distracted by Jackson. Kendrick cheap shots the game with a kick. The rest of the competitors in that match fight. Jeff Hardy is stopped from hitting his finishing manoeuvre by Jackson. Triple H starts smacking Jackson with a chair whilst he no-sells it. Fuck me, is Kendrick in the title match or is it Jackson? You'd think it was Jackson the way they're building him up to withstand chair shots from the King of Kings. I've got no problem with Kendrick having a badass bodyguard, but I do have a problem with him getting overshadowed. There's way too much focus on Jackson. He looks like he should be the one in the main event. Then later that night, Jeff Hardy will face the Brian Kendrick in his biggest match to date. Kendrick's all over Jeff with the kicks. They're doing a good job of making these kicks look painful. I also didn't expect Kendrick to use so many varied submissions, but he does. Kendrick starts losing after a while and Jackson gets physically involved, throwing Jeff into the crowd barrier. And just like that, Kendrick beats Jeff Hardy. Big upset there. I'm so glad they've given him a win against somebody who matters. I would complain about Jackson getting involved, but come on, he wasn't getting past Jeff 100% clean. And with that big win under his belt, we move on to the title match at Unforgiven 2008. So this is kind of different. It's a scramble match, similar to the hardcore title match of WrestleMania 2000. Basically all that matters is who is the champion after the time limit expires, which is 20 minutes. The difference from that WrestleMania match is that you can pin whoever you want. Not a match they do anymore. I thought it was pretty entertaining. Why not bring it back? And this match will actually go on to show why it's a good idea. We'll get to it, but first of all, Kendrick is the first man to be pinned by Jeff Hardy after only a few minutes of being in the match. Kendrick returns later, and he puts away calling it that, shut up or I'll smack you one. And this early portion of the match really is the Brian Kendrick show. He's countering everybody. Then the game Triple H enters and he's pretty much screwed. Within 1 minute, he's hit with a pedigree and Triple H pins him. The match carries on and the belt changes hands quickly. The game has to beat Kendrick again for the belt. Then Jeff Hardy immediately hits Kendrick with a Swanton Bomb finishing manoeuvre, and Jeff Hardy's back in the driving seat. Kendrick is also the victim of a tower spot, but nobody pins him. Triple H wins when Jeff Hardy is an idiot. Now, I unfortunately have to tell you that Brian Kendrick was not an official WWE title holder, as none of the changes in the scramble match counted. But for 3 beaks up from this hawk, but his main event run isn't quite done yet. The following night on Smackdown, Triple H squares up to Jackson. Yeah, they definitely want this guy more than Kendrick. Triple H moves on to tell Kendrick that he was the biggest loser at the pay-per-view, of Kendrick unable to retaliate. He looks like he's choking on a brick. But at least he's in a fatal 4-way main event match now for a shot at Triple H and the belt. They play up to his working smarter, not harder strategy during this match, and he mostly hangs outside the ring waiting for a chance. And this goes well for him on the whole. He just can't quite get the 3. I really enjoyed Kendrick in this match, and they truly sold me on the fact that he was going to steal a victory. He doesn't do it though because he's hit by Jeff Hardy's finishing manoeuvre. A fun match.
Jeff, I appreciate everything you're doing for me, man. After this, how about me, you, and Kendrick all go back to North Carolina? Rules are made to be broken, man.
And he's still high up on the card the next week. He interrupts a promo and explains that he's sick of these crazy matches and tonight would be different because it's just a singles match. Then he laughs at Jeff Hardy for smoking the herb. Pot kettle black, Kendrick. That look on Jeff's face says it all. Kendrick does this weird cringy dance sometimes. In fact, it's happening more commonly. Not sure what this is supposed to be, but it just looks dumb. It's a decent match, but unfortunately Jeff Hardy wins again. Man, this guy's killing Kendrick. It's usually the Big Show or Kane. Kendrick has 2 more weeks hanging around with the main eventers. I'm surprised he got another 2 weeks. All he's done is lose. He teams up with MVP to take on Jeff Hardy and Triple H. It's a really fun match and the crowd are going mad for it. Eventually Triple H wins as usual, but at least Kendrick didn't take the pin for once. A great match. His final match with the Stars is an 8-man tag, and this is the first match where he just seriously looked like he didn't belong. He's being tossed around and he's certainly not wrestling smarter in this match. He loses again with MVP taking the fall. He suffered almost as much as Kendrick during this run. Now for the first time in this run, the Brian Kendrick doesn't have any matches. He claims that he's sick and substitutes Ezekiel Jackson in. By the way, the match he's substituting for is super crazy. How the mighty have fallen. I assume this is all part of the plan though. What was he, scared to face a jobber? Jackson squashes him in 30 seconds, so presumably Jackson is better than Kendrick. Based on that evidence at least. I mean, he attacked Super Crazy after the bell, so now Jackson and Kendrick have swapped roles. The next week at least Kendrick beats Super Crazy. Is there no one better he could be facing? The longer this goes on, the higher Kendrick looks. I really like his character, but I just wish he'd bloody do something. He can't even beat Jimmy Wang Yang now, and he gets DQ'd. The next week backstage, Kendrick desperately stares lovingly at Jimmy Wang Yang whilst he reads speeches from Pulp Fiction. It's a sweet promo, but I have no idea what he's talking about, or what the point is, so I find it hard to call this a positive or a negative. Kendrick has now been relegated to managing Jackson. Now they're not booked at all for the next 2 shows. Oh, he's back. Oh no, it's Jeff Hardy again. This time it's a beat the clock challenge. What's really noticeable here is they've kind of switched from working smarter to just being weak and using Jackson for literally anything and everything. He's turned into a bitch. It's actually a good match which runs for 12 minutes, but why is Jeff Hardy destroying Kendrick so often? What, does he owe him a bag or something? What happens next a bit weird. Brian Kendrick was hitting on the Bella twins who were disgusted by him. The clones came to their rescue and Kendrick dumped in his nappy of fear. How can you be scared of Primo? He's like the least intimidating guy I've ever seen. And that starts a feud apparently. Hey, at least it's something, I guess. Brian Kendrick beats Primo in a match with the commentary team saying, "Oh my god, he beat Primo." I guess he's a nobody now, viewed to be less than Primo. As we close out 2008, Kendrick is no longer getting an entrance. And he loses to Carlito whilst the commentary team laugh at him. He also looks like he might be starting a crybaby gimmick. The pointless feud continues anyway. Kendrick and Jackson have only their second tag match together in 6 months. And it's for the tag belts. If this is any indication that the tag division was down on its ass at this point, nothing ever will be. Oh, and they don't get an entrance, so WWE are telling us we shouldn't care about this. And they lose. Kendrick just kind of exists in the WWE, not doing anything apart from the JOB. He enters the Royal Rumble 2009 at number 26. And wow, he eliminates Kofi Kingston straight away. Then Triple H throws out Kendrick literally a second later, giving Kendrick about a total of 15 seconds in the Rumble. Don't worry, I'm sure it's all part of the plan somehow. He misses the entire month of February. When he returns, he has a chance to qualify for the Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania. Now, seeing as he's going up against Finlay, you'd think it would be obvious that Kendrick wins the match. Surely you'd want him in a big ladder match rather than Finlay. But no, Finlay beats him in 3 minutes. Could have been a great fit. Now he has the chance to do the JOB to Jeff Hardy yet again. I guess Kendrick still owes him. Jeff throws a chair at him and Kendrick's reaction is so funny to me for some reason. Jeff Hardy wins with his finishing manoeuvre, and just like that, Kendrick was drafted over to Raw with Ezekiel Jackson get drafted to ECW. So their little team had no ending, it accomplished nothing, nobody got over, and it was a complete waste of time. Over on Raw in his final match with Jackson by his side, he loses to Kane in 40 seconds. For some reason, he still wants the tag titles too, but he no longer has a partner to go for them with, so he spends a month trialling new partners. They all suck. His partners were including, but not limited to, Goldust, Festus, and Jamie Noble. You know you're in the turd zone when you're getting beaten up by hornswoggling matches. There's nothing worse than losing to this guy. I despise him, and therefore anyone who loses to him too. I hate how everyone on commentary talks about how disgusting it is when anyone lays a hand on Hornswoggle. Well, he's in the fucking match, so what do you expect? He insults Jerry Lawler. The thing that's painful about this is he actually entertains me still with his whole act, but it's impossible to take him seriously after losing to Hornswoggle, and everyone else. Then he loses to Jerry Lawler in 2 minutes. His final match was a 10-second loss to Kofi Kingston, but don't worry guys, he's still the man with the plan. WWE released him and he went off to do weird things in TNA. Now you might be wondering what the hell went on here. Basically they liked Kendrick as a wrestler, but Kendrick put his habits before his wrestling career. He constantly failed drug tests, but instead of changing his life, he just paid the fines and carried on like nothing had happened. And I don't want to get into a whole conversation about how it shouldn't be that way. The Hawk has no issues. What's respectful? And he had a chance to actually be something, but he put his habits first. I don't think he would have gone all the way to the top, but there's no reason he couldn't have been an entertaining upper mid-carder. I liked his wacky personality, but the booking was just all about Jackson, and then it didn't have a payoff at all. So it's not even worth asking the question, is it really? I won't waste my breath. The run of the Brian Kendrick was terrible, and he has no one to blame but himself,